If there is one thing everybody should know about me, it's that I love to procrastinate. Honestly, I have not been here just because I love to procrastinate. Anyway, we are going to talk about all the books that I read whilst I was away. And I have been away for about 8 months. 8 months. So we are going to talk about all the books I've wrapped up in the 8 months that I've been away. So the first book I read was The Poppy War, which is the first book in the Poppy War trilogy. And the Poppy War basically follows the life of a girl named Fang Rumin. She aces a test, it's like a test score to find the most talented students in the Nikara Empire, and she is admitted into the most elite military school in the empire. It's called Singard, and basically it's like KCPE, you know, you take a test, if you pass. And the craziest thing about the test is that she only had 2 years to study for it, whilst everyone else probably in the country had about 14 years. And it just follows her story, how she gets into Sangard, how she realizes she has a special gift, how she hones this gift that she has, and how she dabbles into this sort of mythical power called shamanism. And it's basically communing with the gods. Before war breaks out and every child in the military school has to go and become, you know, what do children become in a war? Soldiers. The thing about this book is it's loosely based off of the Second World War, specifically between Japan and China, and I wanted to love this book. I gave this book 3.5 stars, and I will go and reduce them because this book was a 3-star read for me. I tried to like this book. The first half of this book was amazing. I loved it. I loved the concept, but then the last half, I honestly felt like whiplash. Too many things were happening. I didn't have enough time to care about absolutely anything that was happening to these characters. I could not care less. Like, things were happening and I was just like, okay. But the writing was beautiful. The pacing was too fast for the last half. It was too fast. There's a lot of fighting in this. So if you like anime that has blood and gore, or just movies that have blood and gore, this would be the book for you. The second book I read, and which is one of my favorite books, was the first book in the Avatar Chronicles. Is it the Avatar Chronicles? The Chronicles of the Avatar, which is The Rise of Kyoshi. It is the first book in the Legacy of Kyoshi duology. I'm not sure if that's what it's called. Now, I loved this book. First, obviously, because I loved the Avatar, The Last Airbender universe, but also because Kyoshi is my favorite Avatar. I might be a little bit biased, but it's Kyoshi and then Korra and then Aang. And then I don't like the rest. I really don't like, maybe Yang Chen, and then I really could not care a little bit for the rest. But this book, it follows the life of Kyoshi as they crown another avatar, and then as they discover that she is the avatar, as she is betrayed, you know, she has to run away from home. She joins a little band of bandits, and just her journey into accepting her avatar status, how she wielded the power that she has come to have, and the ruthlessness as well. And let me just say this, if you liked the like Avatar The Last Airbender universe, this book, read it please. The pacing was amazing. The characters were really, really great. Of course, it does read like a book for younger readers, so maybe if you're looking for, it's very simple, if I should put it that way, very much like Avatar The Last Airbender itself. So if you liked the show, then you would definitely like the book. This book has given me the best villain to ever exist in a book that I have read of. Jianzu. There is no villain in Avatar The Last Airbender universe who has villained the way my man Jianzu villained. Not in this life, not in the next life, not even Fire Lord Ozai himself, because this man, I need to take a tea break. The next book I read was this, Red, White and Royal Blue. Well, technically this was a reread because I have read it before. And let me just show you how crazy the annotations for this book are. This book is annotated almost on every single page. I love this book. I have not even finished the reread. I'm right up to there. Completely on purpose. I do not want to finish it too quickly, but if I could just show you. I love this book. This book is fluffy, it is warm, it is fuzzy. I'm assuming everyone already knows about this book, so I don't really need to explain the plot. This book falls under fiction, whilst the previous two fall, I think, under young adult fantasy, if I am not wrong. The next book I read, surprise, surprise to absolutely no one, was Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. Well, it was a reread. I reread this book at least twice a year because I love it. It was the first out of the later books of the Harry Potter series. That is, it would start with Goblet of Fire, Order of the Phoenix, Half-Blood Prince, and then Deathly Hallows. This was the first book, big book, that I read. I read it when I was about 13 and I borrowed it from my teacher and I loved it. And it was in this specific edition, this edition right here, and it was hardback and I loved it. I wanted to steal it because when I was younger, I used to be a book thief. I don't feel shame about it now. I don't think there is any need to be ashamed. There are worse things to steal. I used to be a book thief. I used to steal books from my friends all the time, or want to steal books from my friends. So I have been rereading this book. Of course, I finished reading it in soft copy, so now I am rereading it just because I want to annotate this copy, this specific edition, and also because I love it. I don't need to explain. This is the next book that I read. I actually read this in ebook and then I purchased it in paperback, The Captive Prince. This is fantasy, enemies to lovers. Now this is enemies to lovers. I don't know what everybody else is reading. I don't know what everybody else is reading, but this book is enemies to mild acquaintances, to mild allies, to mild lovers, to enemies, to mild lovers, to lovers. Ugh. I loved this book. This book follows a prince. His name is Damien. He is dethroned from his kingdom and then he is shipped to an enemy kingdom where he happened to have killed the previous crown prince. I don't think anybody knows that he is the prince. They just think him a common soldier, but they mistreat him properly. This book has some heavy themes. I advise that you read the tags for this book before you get into it. However, if you are a lover of, you know, enemies to lovers, if you, Hannibal, I mean, it's not the same, but if you have watched Hannibal, I'm going to skip this next one just to say I have also read book 2 and book 3 of the Captive Prince series. Book 2 would be called, I've completely forgotten. I read book 2, book 3, and then there's a little epilogue book. And I loved this series in general. It was a beautiful series. It was recommended to me by a friend, and the first time I read it, I had no idea that it was a physical book. I actually thought it was fan fiction. Because fan fiction are the only kinds of books that are that good. Like that you can only find a book that good in fan fiction. There is absolutely no way that I expected this to be in mainstream, like print media. And I was pleasantly surprised. So I read book 2, book 3, and the little epilogue book. The next book that I read was this book right here. Now I have a crazy story about this book before I show you what it's called, because I bought this book without a dust jacket. I bought it secondhand. I was walking on the streets the day I bought this book, holding it in my hand, and someone thought I was a street preacher because this book looks like a Bible. So he walks up to me and he's like, I like to see young people preaching the gospel. Sir, this is a book about a skeleton detective who runs around with a 14-year-old girl solving murder mysteries and preventing the end of the world, although the 14-year-old girl is technically the one who's supposed to bring the end of the world as it was prescribed and prophesied since the beginning. This is the 6th book in the Skullduggery Pleasant series and the first book that I read in the Skullduggery Pleasant series. Can we just give a round of applause for this year and how much I have been able to purchase books that are so reminiscent, books from my childhood. I am so proud of myself for that. I have been able to get Skullduggery Pleasant, the complete Harry Potter series down to the editions as I read them when I was a child. I have been able to get the Hunger Games. I am extremely happy. I am satisfied. I am pleased with the way this year has turned out for books. Now this book actually literally does follow the life of a skeleton detective called Skullduggery Pleasant and a 15-year-old girl named Valkyrie Kane. And you know, they run around and they solve crime. This book should be in the same genre as Harry Potter and Percy Jackson. This book should, I don't know why it's not spoken about enough, but Derek Landy is a genius. Derek Landy, this book is funny, it is witty. I wish I could just read a bit of let me read one bit of dialogue for you from this book, because everybody needs to, you know. I found it now. Valkyrie is being courted by a 100 and something year old vampire. And I feel like Derek Landy just added this to the plot to make it funny. But this entire conversation between them is so crazy. Killian asks, if I repulse you, you don't repulse me, Killian, because you look like a hot 19-year-old boy. But every time you say something, I'm reminded of the fact that you're just an old man. And okay, I've never actually said that out loud before, and it's really kind of disgusting. Because it really is kind of disgusting when you have a 600-year-old Fey prince and a 21-year-old human, and you're just like, this is an old man. And if that is reason enough why everybody should be reading the Skullduggery Pleasant series, honestly. This book right here is the third book in the Lies of Locke Lamora series. It's not really called the Lies of Locke Lamora series, it's called the Gentleman Bastard sequence. And it follows a bunch of thieves who steal because that's their way of worship. They live in a world in which, how the system is built is there are 12 gods and everybody serves a god, but they serve the 13th god, the nameless god, and you serve him by stealing, and so they steal. And everything about this book honestly was so good. I have not read the first or the second book, and that is what I love about reading. Picking up a random book in the middle and just reading it. Because why not? One day I'll read the first and second book, not today, not tomorrow, but the third book, it is really nice. And I think it makes it less, because people keep saying the first and the second book are so much better. Now the only way from here is up. There is no rock bottom. I have an eyelash in my eye and I'm just... I loved this book. I love this book. Everyone should read this book. It pits con artist against con artist. It's basically two thieves, two master thieves. And let me tell you, these are master thieves. If anything, I would argue Sabetha is a better thief than Locke. They are both thrust into this world where they have to fight it out against each other and one person has to win. And but there are also secrets and lies and plots within plots. This book is immaculate. I would 100% recommend this, and thus far, with the 305 pages that I have read, I would give this book a 4.75 star rating. Actually, I would give this book a 5-star rating. Yes, I would definitely give this book a 5-star rating. On to the ebooks that I have read. I have read Manacled, and I am counting Manacled as a real book only because it is real to me. It is real to me. Manacled is basically fanfiction about Harry Potter and what would have happened if he actually died. And I've read too much Drarry. It's a Dramione fanfiction, which basically means that main two love interests are Draco Malfoy and Hermione. Disclaimer, I used to hate Draco Malfoy. I used to be like, how do we like him? He's clearly disgusting. Why do you write fanfiction about him? Why do you read fanfiction? You would never catch me dead reading Draco Malfoy fanfiction. Oh, how the turntables have. Because that fanfiction was really, really good. And it builds up the Harry Potter universe better than J.K. Rowling, if I do say so myself. Of course, there are a lot of plot holes, just like J.K. Rowling's, but it feels more believable than how the actual Harry Potter books ended. So it's basically it's a fusion between Harry Potter and The Handmaid's Tale. And what happens is, after Harry Potter dies, all the women who fought in the Order of the Phoenix are captured, and then they are given to pure blood families to basically help them make children. If you've seen The Handmaid's Tale, you understand the plot. So they're given to these families to help them make children, and basically Hermione is given to Draco Malfoy's family. And Draco Malfoy is one of Voldemort's highest ranking officials, higher than Snape if I'm not wrong. He's called the High Reeve. There are 3 books in this series. So it's the first book, the second book, and then the third book is basically just reminiscence of the war, like a flashback of what happened during the war and how it led to the situation that we are in. And if there's a thing that I've noticed is a theme among fanfiction, Ronald Weasley is insufferable. In every single, whether it be Hermione, Drarry, Ronald Weasley is insufferable. And I refuse to believe that that is not how he really is, because knowing him from the movies, he could be insufferable. But I loved the Manacled series. It had 3 books, so those are 3 ebooks that I read. I think I have also read, other than The Purity of the Orange Tree, I have read too much fan fiction for it to count. If you're talking fan fiction as books, I have read almost 50 fan fiction books within the last 2 months. That is within the last 2 months. I have read Jegulus, I have read Wolfstar, I have read Rose Killer, I have read The Black Brothers, Dead Dove Do Not Eat. I do not even want to explain what that means. I have read The Black Brothers, I have read Drarry, I've read Hermione, I've read one with Blaise Zabini and, was it George Weasley? I have read Hermione and Snape. Hey, I've read Harry and Voldemort. Crazy. Anyway, it was so wonderful to have you guys. Hopefully I will see you guys in the next vlog. Bye.